Hi, welcome to Real People. I'm Stephanie Allensworth. And again, we have a recurring guest in David Behr, who is here today to talk about his muse. And maybe we can get into a little dream work as well.
Let's do that first.
Do that first?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a dream I want to ask your muse to interpret for me. I'll try to make it a little bit quick, but it starts out with me waiting in a cinder block room for an appointment of some type. And the room was all cinder block, but there was a window and a door, a big window, big picture window. And all of a sudden a storm kicks up outside. And it's, leaves and branches are blowing and it's, just really kicking up. And then all of a sudden the window has vines and greenery that all just grows right up and covers the entire window. And the room starts to collapse down and down and down and down. And I'm still there going, it's a tornado or something like that. That's what I'm thinking, this big storm. And everything settles down, and I managed to get out through the door that was still there. And I go out, and there's a small crowd of people that are standing there talking about what just happened. And I walked up and I said, wow, that was like really freaky. And all of a sudden, somebody taps me on the shoulder. And I turned around and looked, and it's this man. It has a resemblance of my father, who was deceased. But it wasn't my father, but he resembled him. And he touched me on the arm, and we began to fly through the air. And we went through the cities, and I didn't recognize this city, but there was this gigantic cobalt blue, all glass building. And we went up and up and up and up and up and up and up to the top of this, not to the top, but to a landing that looked like it would have been like a balcony, but there was no doors or anything like that. It was just this piece that jutted out. And I call him the angel. The angel set me down on this balcony, and it was like this big boardroom on the inside. And there was one Middle Eastern man sitting at a big table by himself, and he sees me there, and he's just in shock, right? And he manages to open the window and let me in, and the angel flies off, slowly, like whole body, just do-do-do-do-do, And I enter the room, and he starts bowing to me, and I'm gonna cry, and he says, "This is now a holy place." And I went, okay, and now I'm like, okay, now how do I get out of here? I have no idea how I got up here, but how do I get out of here? How do I get back down? And I go out in the hallway, and there's elevators, but they're all out of order. And I said, I guess I'm going to have to stay up here for a while. And I woke up.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful, powerful symbology.
Holy moly, huh?
Yeah, and I may need your help. In fact, I probably will need your help to help me remember as we walk through it. But normally when I'm asked to do a dream interpretation, which I absolutely, totally, thoroughly enjoy, number one, the dream maker is absolutely brilliant. The way the dream maker can infuse into our dream sleep state the kinds of codes of symbolic messages that are not only broadly unique, but individually unique to the person that is experiencing it. So what I typically like to do, I always get my own interpretation, impression almost immediately. In fact, it's already there, most of it. And we'll unwind it, we'll go through step by step, and we'll talk about it because it's so delicate and intricate and refined and absolutely exposes amazing pieces of information.
Locked in my memory for life.
But you had it and you remembered it so clearly. I mean, that in itself, a lot of people don't remember their dreams. They get up and they go, I had a dream, but I don't remember.
I tell you, in living color. Too.
In living color, because when that happens, it's my contention that the dream has a rather significant message or messages to convey in order to move to the next opportunity gate, the next level. So our universal higher consciousness, our connection with our God voice, the muse I call it, the voice of God within us all, we all have it, is in the dream maker format, this glorious dream maker that orchestrates through incredible visuals in your dream state. So you're going to remember because they're so odd. And frankly, many people look at them quite literally. In fact, that's generally a less than harmonic way to look at it because it's not a literal interpretation. It's really rather a grand vision from a holographic perspective into a depth of our own spiritual awakeningness that's happening. And so we get incrementally those dynamic downloads in the dream world to inspire us to be inquisitive enough, right? You're going, man, that dream was so wild. I got to remember that one. And you obviously didn't even need to write it down because it was so poignant.
Yeah, I remember most of my dreams verbatim.
How nice. Well, what a gift it is. And some people need those of you out there that want to remember more of your dreams because they are really an insight into a deeper understanding about how to traverse in this 3D reality, which with a greater sense of not only wonder, but understanding that things can be different than what they appear to be. Symbolism is in every part of our life. And the more we become awake to that synchronicity of symbolisms, because they're everywhere. You know, like you might be talking to somebody, I'm rambling now, but you'll be talking to somebody, be on the phone, and something interrupts that conversation. If you remember what the last part of that conversation was when you're interrupted, I see that as kind of like a punctuation. It's you need to pause.
It's like the ringing in the ear.
Yes.
It's like time to pay attention.
Pay attention. And so when we do that, and we pay attention to the symbolisms, I live in the country and blessed to have access to see animal totems all the time. It was just a couple of weeks ago that I was driving on a road, a country road, going home, and an eagle swooped down right in front of me, in front of the windshield. And I went, wow, wow. Nothing is coincidental.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason. That, to me, was an enormous message of power. And there are powerful messages that come from animal totems. We have them all the time. Again, it's the symbolism that tunes itself into the weaving of that, that life experience that we have that invites us to not only pay attention, but to start to ask questions to unravel the mystery. So what I'd like to do with you, if it's okay, because I always like to know what the dream means to the person who received the message. Some people don't get it. They are confused by it. They don't understand it. So they ask people like myself, how can I interpret that? But I would like to hear yours first.
Okay.
And then I would love to share mine.
Okay.
Because they will probably be maybe the same, but there's always that different perspective from another lens set.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, let's start with the room where I started in a cinder block waiting room, which would seem like it would be safe, but it was not. I'm still kind of struggling with what the vines covering the window meant, but it was almost like something out of this world, you know. It's like, you know, like a horror movie almost, you know. And then the whole thing collapsing down around me is, you know, my life collapsing around me. But then coming out of that, seeing others that have also survived this, but then the angel tapping me on the shoulder and flying me away is like taking me to the next level and taking me to this building that was beautiful. And, you know, I'm not a big fan of heights. And let me tell you, we were up among the skyscrapers. So, but not holding hands like Superman or anything, just with his hand on my shoulder, just touching me. And then I kind of get lost with the rest of it, dropping me there, having me have to enter through a window, and then having no way to get down, at least for that moment.
Perfect. So your interpretation generally is, what do you think? If you
Generally,
would encapsulate it into, paraphrase it into, what was the message for you?
Soul elevation.
And what you just said is exactly what the dream is all about. So let's go through it piece by piece, and if you don't mind, I will give you what my My muse
I got
is
goosebumps.
sensing, and it's so beautiful. First of all, the cinder block, and most people will know what cinder block is. They're cool. It's kind of a cold feeling. It's a
Almost a
dampy.
basement
It's a
feeling.
dampy basement kind of subconscious feeling. So, and the brick, excuse me. Cinder block, the coarseness of the brick is very coarse, almost sharp.
Oh, yeah.
Almost like, what do you call that? The shells that people put, diatomaceous earth. It's almost like a diatomaceous earth feeling. So, aggregates of unpleasantry, but yet you had a door, which was an opportunity to come and to go, given to you by your dream makers, that you're not in prison here. You're not stuck, but you got some issues going on. The vines that are growing over, that life is growing all over your ability to see throughout and out into space, out of the window of your consciousness, that there's life incidences that are coming that seem organic, and they are, but they're really kind of interrupting and blocking your vision. Not that you can't totally get off, but kind of a substitute warning or an advocation that there's something that needs to be redressed or readdressed or consciously understood. And so I heard what you said about the interpretation about that the roof that is collapsing in is kind of things are, and that seems really obvious, but not always. So I saw it as the ceiling that you have met. You've met a ceiling in your life that you need to break through, that you want to break through, that no longer can contain you. So all of the stuff that you have done in your process of learning, on your path, all the incremental lessons, which are the opportunities in disguise that have disclosed themselves to give you these blessings that have brought you to this place in time where you are now animating in this more consciously aware human being who has tremendous depth and wisdom and knowledge ready to share, can no longer be contained by the old container. The old container is not your home. It's a level of consciousness that you've outgrown. And so the turbulence, the storm, the thunder, the uncertainty, the clattering, the noise that can be distracting is really, there's a thunder roll in your life that's saying you're being empowered to let go of all of that which is less than harmonic in your life.
Wow.
So what a gift.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's honoring the lessons and the amplitude of each experience, and you're taking it from the wise mind thinker that says, I can see the depth and the script that's being written for me if I can only learn to embrace and to hear and to learn and to take the coveted symbols and use them as a wise application to distribute myself to the next level, going up, flying, soaring to a higher level, that platform which was like a higher, you kept saying higher, moving into a higher level of your consciousness. The higher level of consciousness is no longer willing or wanting to live in superfluous anything that's less than the dynamic that says, how do I share my light in myself at a higher frequency with more people? There's the question. I think that's the symbol. So being asked by your angel shows up, which is an element, a divine being that says you're not alone, we work with you, we're here to help you. They're serving you even in your dream time and letting you know that you're on the right path. So all of what seems like it could be the twisted and the turns and the scary tornado, is nothing more than a rumbling of your old world saying, that's what is the distraction and calling you to something that no longer works. You no longer want to work out of a shed that's aggregate and sharp and not warm and comforting. You are wanting to go to a level that is higher vision and higher opportunity. So help me where the next step is. You're on a platform like a balcony,
and it's,
high balcony in the clouds, meaning way above false limitations.
And it's cobalt blue. So
Cobalt blue, what does cobalt blue mean to you?
royalty.
Royalty, absolute beauty. The visceral nature of cobalt blue is that even looking at it amplifies the visual sense to feel a sense of royalty, confidence, comfort, ocean, communication, water solidified in the blue of the sky, in the ocean, now present in a bottle of blue or blue that's refractive or reflective of the new way you see things from a much more higher royal, not meaning arrogant, but royal in terms of a higher way to communicate in an elegance and a voice that more people can hear, that's not consumed or dragged down by the albatross of old thinking that no longer suits or works you. So the foreign being, the foreign individual, it's foreign to you. It's not quite clear to you how to operate in this new world. It's foreign to you. So, but the foreigner, the foreign part of that equation, is directly looking at you and saying, "You got it, right?
Basically,
You're here. You've got it. Welcome."
And you can't get down. Sorry.
You can't go back to the old way of being because it no longer suits you. You have already made, on some level with your soul, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but an agreement that when you have made that decision finally to say, "I'm not willing to do this anymore. I'm not willing to play in arenas that take my time but do not allow the sequencing of elevation the way I have now decided that my life from this now on," this moment, this sacred holy moment, when you pull yourself into that equation of the core centeredness of your divine being and you walk into that globe of this larger picture of who you are and what you came here to be, which is waiting for you to become one with it. It's not like a journey at the end of a long tunnel. It's walking into and accepting the mantle of this distinctive time in your life where you get to be a vocalization of beauty, spirit, understanding, knowledge, wisdom, arcane information that will help, as you do with this medium, to introduce others to new vibrational sound frequencies of hearing truth in a myriad of ways. First, with their own self-love, helping them recognize that they can hear the truth. All can hear the truth when they don't see the obstacles as blinding victimization, but rather than a call to reinvent oneself, to elevate oneself to a different state of potentiality. And look at every lesson, every arcane challenge, every pain and suffering that comes along the way, whether it be financial or physical or emotional or mental. Everybody has their lots to deal with in this reality. But when we begin to see them not as enemies, but ambassadors of a new kind of way of viewing and understanding, that can be the trigger to a whole new world of efficacy and efficiency and higher traveling and higher octaves that allow you to bring your wisdom to that higher place which is now ready to receive you.
Through a window.
The window is the window of your soul.
Open.
The window is open. The window is an invitation that you're free to soar where you want to go, make the decision to connect with that which you want to do, what you believe in, and make it your reality by putting the cloak on, buttoning it up. It's like a suit, a bodysuit. It's just another garment that you wear in the suit of light, but this garment is about elevating consciousness, not just for yourself, but for others.
But for humanity.
And humanity. It's what ultimately we all have to do.
Yes.
So by
collectively, yes.
The whole collective clarion call in the world right now, and everybody's getting it that is conscious and aware. The people that are in fear are in a desperate place, and these people, we all have them in our life, though, they need to be treated with a great deal of tenderness and care and respect right now, because the light volume of energy that's coming into this world and to the universe is knocking a lot of people off their gyroscopic center. They're spinning, you know, and they don't even know why or what's happening. It's because we're in a light field that's demanding all of the shadowy things that we've experienced as lesson bringers. They no longer have an equivalency of station in our life, because we have technically learned what we've had to learn, and now we are being called upon, each of us, to release all that is less, hear this, than harmonic. Anything that operates at the frequency of density, with this doubt, fear, stress, anger, hate, all of that is being illuminated with such vast tsunamic waves of light that it cannot help but expand into a different frequency of goodness. So the 3D mentality that's linear is literally decompressing, if you will, or returning, if you will, to the native nothingness from which it came. And that's a good thing. So our job is to let it go without any attachments and realize it's had its place in our time-space continuum to elevate our now to the point where we get to choose light over shadow.
Oh, yay. Thank you. That was beautiful.
And it's a delivery that happens on a daily now basis. It's incumbent, I believe, on all of us to be able to stay in the sacredness of that a moment, because in the moment is where love and brilliance and light are allowed to be made manifest. When we step out of that ovoid consciousness of the eternal sacred crucible of now, we move either into historical configurations, which are already amorphous and diluted, and already returning to the native nothingness. They were snapshots in time that had their place, but by taking ourself from a now event and going into history to revisit it, you left the now.
Yeah.
You left the sacred preciousness of the grand learning experience that's happening in this now.
Yeah.
So the urgency at hand for all of us, we're all being called to be more present and stay more currency in the now.
Because when is now?
When is now? Now is the when. And that's where change happens. And it's beautiful because it's, guess what? It's plump with joy. You can't be in the moment and be in the countenance of other beautiful people and not see God smiling at you for knowing where to find source. We need to do that with everybody we see.
Yeah.
And so those that are in a fibrillation and a countenance of spirally spinning and at fear, let them know with your compassion and your heart they're not alone, you support them. It's just a transitory cloud. It's a temporal storm that has its thunder and its lightning, and it's convincing that nothing's going to get beyond that. But because wisdom of learning through time, you realize that every storm, no matter how great, will peter out.
Yeah.
It will have its expansion, which is only going to be lessons to learn from, and then it'll take its leave. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think you gave me a whole new way of looking at that experience, and I kind of was on the same wavelength as all of that.
It seemed like you were.
But I've kind of felt like I needed like some validation in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And that is why I, rebooted this show to talk about things like that and bring the light to people. and talk about the goodness and not just fear, 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 because fear has had its day.
So fear, I see fear is the antithesis of faith. It's the flip side of the coin. So fear is one side and faith is the other. And they're all one of the same coin. It's like the teeter-totter.
Right.
You got your linear equation that distinguishes itself because when division took place from the beginning of existence, the circular component, which was the ball, if you look into ball or look at the word balance, it was the ball once. Once wholeness, divinity, right? God said, I want to see divinity expressed in a myriad of forms, so creation and humans and galactic enterprises of vastness of humanness in all forms became part of creation to learn about divinity, learning about how it showed up in the wake of everything. So the continuum, which is the separation from the whole, became a teeter-totter. You got the alpha, the omega, the up and the down, the in and the out, the cold and the hot, the you and the me, the here and the there, and
The
all of it.
duality, right?
The duality. What duality has served very well at helping people come back to the center because
Find your shadow.
yes,
and
to
work
find
on
the
that
shadow. And so the light that's coming, the dreams, and a lot of people are getting a lot of really good dreams right now. Call me, I'd be happy to help you with it. Dreams are just such a desire and a love because it's a portrait of such colorful descriptions about how life can be interpreted through a lens creatively that gives great depth and wisdom and profundity to the understanding that's disclosed in every equation, every dream. You know, when my daughters, my wife and I both do interpretation, and in part because our children would wake up and say, I had a scary dream, Dad or Mom. Can you tell me about the dream? And say, let's share it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And oftentimes what looks like literal is not literal at all, as we said earlier. It's a figurative kind of learning technology. And once we begin to hear, so early on we talked about all these different cadences and rhythms of what dreams meant. And to this day, you know, if one will call and say, hey, this seemed like a very scary dream, what is it? That's exactly what it is, Dad. You made it so easy. And sometimes when we get stuck in the winding coils and the with the albatrosses of the shackles that we give to ourselves, get lost in dream fear. They're always about revelations and wonderful understanding.
Yeah, I don't let them scare me. Even when I've had things that I would consider a night terror, I don't wake up afraid or sweating or anything like that. I wake up asking myself, what was that about? Let's go through the process now and think about what that was all about. Yeah.
So when people have an experience saying, I died in my dream, what does that mean? What do you see?
Well, if you want to take it for how I see it, death, there is no death. Okay, first of all, there's life after life. But when people die in their dreams, it means that a cycle has ended and they're off to a new cycle, a new journey.
Brilliant.
The fool's journey.
Brilliant and beautiful and absolutely articulated perfectly. And that's exactly right, I believe. I support that view.
I have died in my dreams and I'm still here.
Yeah. So the equation of death is not literal most of the time. It's the death of an equation, the death of a circumstance, the ending of a cycle. And so again, just by looking at the symbol differently, I think in the tarot cards, now I don't read tarot cards, but I think the death symbol too. So it's a different perspective. It's an ending.
It's exactly, the end of a cycle.
It's an end of a cycle. I look at the number 9 from a numerological perspective. You got the circle, whoa, and you got this hook, right? So watch this. The circle is the alpha, the omega, the infinity, the yin and the yang, right? The equation of completion. Complete the circle. Back to the center, back to the one, back to the source from which you've come. And watch this. The tail is the launching into your new vision of what you're creating for yourself, chronicalizing
We know 9
your
is a very
dreams.
important number.
Yeah. And if you look at 6, it's just an upside down 9.
It most definitely is. Well, I hate to say it, but we're out of time again.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry I took up so much time with that dream.
Oh, it was
but,
beautiful. No, it was perfection. Everything happens for a reason. Everything has its perfect time. Sometimes we just need to get out of the way and let the discourse have its way, because sometimes giving discourse leverage to have the freedom to be and to share is where understanding is born. So thank you once again for this beautiful experience called
you're
life
so
with
welcome,
you.
and let's keep doing this because you bring so much to the table when you come here, and I so appreciate it. And one thing I do want to say is, when we're talking about this dream in particular and the meaning of it, there's got to be somebody out there that needs to hear this information, which is exactly why we're talking about it.
Well, thank you. And are you going to talk about the brochure, how they can get a hold of that?
Absolutely. We're going to put your brochure up. David's got a brand new brochure, and we'll post a link to it on our page when we put it up. And it will be on. We'll add the link and the information to the screen when this airs. So all there, yes, absolutely. And we encourage people to come visit David, because you got to get some of this stuff that I'm getting from him, because it's just pure, beautiful light.
And you're so generous with your loving words.
Oh, no, you are, my
I'm
dear.
honored.
So thank you so much. And we're definitely keeping it real here. So we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.